Welcome to Tuesday's Commodities Corner. I'm Elaine Stenson. The UK government has struck a deal with the French utility EDF to build the country's first new nuclear plant in a generation. The French nuclear developer Areva will hold 10% and two state-owned Chinese companies, China General Nuclear Power Group and China National Nuclear Corp, will hold between 30 and 35%. EDF is in talks with other partners for a stake of up to 15%. I'm joined on the line now by Professor Roger Cashmore, who is chair of the United Kingdom Atomic Energy Authority. Professor Cashmore, the UK Business Minister Michael Fallon insisted the new UK nuclear power deal will mean cheaper energy than was available from renewable sources. Do you agree with this?
Yes, or I would probably have put it that it was comparable, because these things are very difficult to compare one with another, and the reason why I put them as comparable, perhaps nuclear cheaper, is that with renewables, when you look at new renewable costs to begin with, you may think the renewables are cheaper, but what is not included often are the costs that you have to incur to deal with the fact that when for instance, sun doesn't shine or wind doesn't blow, you need a backup system. So you have to install backup systems to be able to cope with when the renewables are down. So those costs are often not included when you look at a generation cost. You just look at it when it's working. So it's those sorts of costs and storage types of costs which are not there. So this question is always a thorny one to go through, but certainly I think it's clear that it's as cheap, if not cheaper, than renewables.
Mr. Ed Davey, the UK Energy Secretary, has said that the UK is facing a looming energy crisis and that these investments are necessary if people want to be able to keep watching the television, be able to turn the kettle on and benefit from electricity, and it's essential to keep the lights on and power British business. Do you think that this is an accurate assessment?
Yes, you could regard it as being a bit sort of spectacular or but we know in Britain that if we try to keep up with our carbon commitments and to deal with the fact that a lot of our existing nuclear power stations are comparatively old, a lot of these power stations were foreseen to disappear in the next 10 years. And certainly the nuclear power plants, they provide about 15-16% of our electricity at the moment. So we know that there's going to be a reduction in generation capability, and at the moment the grid in Britain is becoming progressively more and more marginal. If we get a particular bad weather conditions or something peculiar happens, then we could be in the position where there's not enough electricity on the grid and people will have their lights going out. So there's got to be something done in the next 10 years, and I suspect that will be that a few of the nuclear power reactors will be extended in life, safely of course. We have to do that, but we have to start building replacement capacity, and that is, of course, the new reactors that are going to be built at Hinkley Point C.
Okay, and this deal will be using French technology, French manufacturing, and backed by Chinese finance. Could Britain have been involved in these aspects a bit more?
In a way, yes, but that then goes against the government's sort of principles that it won't subsidize any of these things. Now, I think there are also already some safeguards that are there, that these activity can benefit for some underpinning financing if they get into trouble. But certainly the government has always said no subsidy for new nuclear power, right? And that's what they've been trying to ensure by making sure it's other people that come up with the money. And I think George Osborne has said that on a number of interviews he gave when he was in China recently.
What are the negative aspects of nuclear power and how concerned should we be about the safety?
Well, I suppose the negative aspects of nuclear power are basically the sort of general popular view, which I think, but there are very few actually negative aspects. You have to be careful. People do worry about the issues of proliferation and things like this when you do have nuclear power plants, but those are very well monitored by the IAEA. So that you can't get diversion of materials into from the civil area. But historically, although people often don't at first sight believe this, nuclear has been one of the very safest ways of generating electricity over the last 40, 50 years. So I think again, I'm sure, are going to have safe reactors in Britain after the Fukushima activity. All the reactors in Europe were stress tested and were shown to be safe. Lessons were learned, but they were all regarded as being safe, and even more stuff was put in to ensure that they could deal rapidly with a flood or something like that. So all through Europe, they're safe. Even in Germany, they're still operating the reactors, right? Even though they want to turn them off, so they even regard them as safe. So I believe they're very safe activities, particularly in northern Europe, where there are no earthquakes and tsunamis. So I don't think one should be concerned about any safety aspects. That doesn't mean to say you don't have to be careful and make sure that you have a good safety culture and you keep that up to appropriate level.
In terms of national security, there are some concerns about the investment from China that could leave Britain's energy supply at risk of attack. What's your take on this?
I think this is a bit of a far-flung worry, because remember what's happening is that the reactors, right, that are going to be built and then operated will be operated by an international consortium, of which the French are part of that, as well as the Chinese. And secondly, a lot of the But by the way, a lot of the input to the building of these reactors will come from local indigenous industries. So I think it's a far-flung concern, because this is an international activity and it's going to be covered by UK law and international law. And in fact, I think it's a good thing that we have all of these reactors governed, run by international consortia. I think we wouldn't have had the problems that we had in, for instance, Fukushima in TEPCO in Japan, had it been run by international consortia. They keep one another honest. And of course, we also want to make sure that in China, where they'll be building many, many, many more reactors, that there is international activity there to make sure that they're all safe. That's not to imply that I think the Chinese will be safe. I think they actually will be very safe, because they're going to have a few hundred reactors that in the end. So I think again, it's an international thing. There won't be any worries of, I think, of being able to cut off the supply. Everything about the international, about nuclear is international. The mining of uranium, the making of fuel is international. They're all international markets. And then you just operate the reactors in a particular country according to your strict licensing laws for safety and security. So I think there's not so much of a problem there. And of course, what it will do is get the UK involved with the Chinese in future developments in in nuclear reactors, and that could be both fission reactors and also fusion reactors, which we work on a lot in the Atomic Energy Authority. Okay. It keeps us all in contact with one another, so that I think we will always have a safe and a secure set of energy supplies.
Professor Cashmore, thanks for joining me on the line today. And that's all for today, but I will be back with more Commodities Corner on Thursday, so do join me for that. Bye for now.